My name is Ravi Parakat. I'm the founder of Takeout 25 and now the board president of Takeout 25 as well. Takeout 25 started when COVID was back on the rise back in October of 2020. And what was really happening is that was about the same time I was getting into local politics. So I was observing the conversation that was happening on social media. And there was a local ordinance that was placed on restaurants to prevent them from having indoor dining. And the weather outside was getting to be pretty cold, so they couldn't have outdoor dining as an option. So that was the situation restaurants were in, and some of the restaurants were going against this ordinance, and there was this heated debate on social media about community health versus restaurant survival. And these discussions were very toxic, and it was not really helping people on the ground. So that is when I took a step back from that conversation and really looked at what is it that we can do meaningfully to mobilize the community to help the situation. So I did some basic math about the population of this community that I live in, the number of restaurants that we have, and what is it that it will take for restaurants to survive the pandemic, what is the revenue they would need, and what does that translate to in terms of contribution from each community member. So it is these pieces that that I brought together and formulated that if community members, about 10,000 community members, spend $25 on takeout business on a weekly basis, that translates to $1 million in takeout business across this community. And we have a population of 55,000 people, so a 10,000 number seemed reasonable. Now we also have 100 restaurants in Oak Park. These 100 restaurants, if let's say we say $10,000 is what is required for them to just pay their payroll and cover their basic costs, then if 10,000 people spend $25, that translates to that amount, $1 million a month in takeout business. Each restaurant averages about $10,000. So it was very doable. And what I realized is there were lots of shop local, buy local campaigns, but it was not specific enough. And people were really feeling hopeless in the pandemic, not being able to contribute or do anything for the community that is impactful. So they felt helpless and hopeless. So what Takeout 25 really did was give something very specific for the community to get behind and to feel like they are not helpless. They can actually contribute to a different outcome, even though the pandemic may be causing some degree of hopelessness. We provided some hope with that very specific ask of the community to support the local restaurants while keeping the community safe from a health standpoint. So I'll start with the most recent, and then I'll go back to my history. So I recently ran a political campaign, so I was getting into local municipal elections. So I ran a campaign for that, and this was a similar backdrop. The pandemic was the backdrop for that campaign, and I had to use a lot of social media and digital to run that campaign, and it was a successful campaign. So now I won those elections. So that is one recent example. But before that, before my MBA, I had a couple of small businesses. So I was selling antiques. So this is refurbished antiques. This was back in India. So I created a small business around that, an extremely profitable and lucrative business, but not very scalable. And I also had a business around textiles or export rejects. So India was a big manufacturer of export garments, and I would buy bulk export reject garments and then bring it into the local market. So I had that business as well. So both of those are what actually prompted me to then look at my MBA, because I was an engineer, and these two businesses that I did on the side kind of got me interested in the business world, and that is what prompted me to go and do my MBA. But what happened in my MBA is, at the end of it, I got into consulting, and I kind of left my dream of starting or scaling a business and went into the consulting world. So the consulting world gave me an opportunity to really look at, or put me in different situations, business situations, gave me a lot of exposure, ability to travel globally. So I kind of put my aspirations to start something, in cold storage for the longest time, and I was a little scared to go out on my own as well. But this now, between this political campaign and Takeout 25, I've kind of rekindled some of those passions back again, and here we are.